So now it is recorded, and so we start class. Okay. So last time what we have done is, so we went over the demand elasticity, then we work on supply elasticity, and simply, so let me remind you that the supply elasticity here, so we denote it by eta, and it is the percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price of the good. Okay, so if you would like to write it in terms of derivatives, it is dq supply over d price times at which price that you are interested in to find this supply elasticity, price over the corresponding quantity. Okay, so this was the formula for the supply elasticity, and so almost the same formula is also true for the demand elasticity. Okay, so today what we will do is we will start with a specific question here, and so we are interested in effect of a tax on consumers and suppliers. Okay, so suppose that we are in an economy. Okay, initially there is no tax. Okay, so I will denote the tax with this tau. Okay, and I will denote it, so initial tax is equal to 0. Okay, so so before going over, so there's a question from one of your friends. So I would prefer you to upload as a PDF as one file. Okay, so there are many other many software so that can turn JPG a photo to a PDF. Okay, so you can use those. Okay, so let's turn back to our topic here. Okay, so suppose that there is no tax initially. Okay, and then the government is levying a tax on suppliers, okay, on sellers. Okay, there is a tax that is charged to the suppliers and sellers. Okay, so what do I mean here? Okay, so basically the government is telling that, okay, for every unit the seller is selling, he will pay some fixed amount of tax. Okay, and that fixed amount will be basically denoted with TF. Okay, so T final, so which is greater than 0. Okay, so what does it mean? If seller is selling the good at X dollars, okay, then he will pay tau f dollars to government. Okay. So what is left for him? So if the seller is selling the good at X dollar, and if he is paying tau f dollars to the government, what is left for him? Okay, simple question. Exactly. So it will be the price that he is charging minus the tax, right? Okay, so it is not something very complicated. Okay, so for each unit, X minus tau f dollar is left for the seller. Okay, so this tax is charged on the seller. Okay, so the seller is paying for it. Okay, so there is no relation between. Okay, here consumers are not paying any tax directly. Okay, so why I put quotation mark on directly? Because indirectly, okay, so this tax may have an effect on the increase in the price, and some of the tax burden will be paid by the consumer. Okay, in fact there is an indirect burden on consumers. Okay, so it will be basically the change in the price as a result of the tax. Okay, so we will first try to understand why the price that is observed by the consumers will change here. Okay, so let's do our analysis. Okay, so let's draw our supply and demand graph. Okay, without having a tax here. Okay, so this is the supply and demand graph. So let's draw demand here with red, and the supply will be the light blue. Okay, so this is the case. Okay, so this will be the equilibrium outcome, which is, let's say that x, not 0 x. Okay, so let's say that it is qi. Okay, q initial, and this is the equilibrium price p initial. Okay, so we can interpret a tax on sellers as an increase in cost of production. Okay, so this is supply initial, and this is demand. Okay, so what do I mean here? The tax can be interpreted as an increase in the cost of production. Okay, so because the money that you are getting now, okay, if I'm getting $10, okay, since the government is getting $2 off that, okay, I'm just putting $8 in my pocket. Okay, which means that I can interpret this as that the cost of production for each unit has increased by $2. Okay, so it will have a shift the supply curve. Okay, so the tax charged by the government, okay, will shift the supply curve to which direction? Do we have a shift to the left or do we have a shift to the right? It will cause a shift to the left, okay, and the reason is the following, okay. Basically, for each price, okay, for example, for a fixed price, let's say that the initial equilibrium price, now the supplier is getting just if not exactly the same amount of that. Okay, some money is going to the government. Okay, which means that at the same price, then the supplier would like to supply less. Okay, so basically, so we will have a shift to the left. Okay, so this will be the final change. Okay, final supply after tax, and this distance between those two, okay, will be equal to the amount of the tax. Okay, so basically, so if we compare this distance, so this will be amount of the tax. Okay. Any question? No. Then what will be the new equilibrium here? Okay, this will be our new equilibrium. Okay, let's say Q final and P final. Okay, so new equilibrium after tax is P final and Q final. Okay, so what happened to the price? Okay, the equilibrium price. Equilibrium price. Do we have an increase? Do we observe an increase or decrease?
An increase.
Increase, yes. Okay, so apparently here PF is greater or equal to PI. Okay, then basically, so we observe an increase in the equilibrium price. So how does it affect the equilibrium quantity?
Increase.
There is a decrease in the equilibrium quantity. Okay, so it decreases. Okay, what if we would like to see the relation, the difference between PF and PI? Okay, and we are just comparing it with the amount of the tax. Okay, what is that difference? Okay, so is it bigger, it is less, or is it the same? By just looking at this graph. Okay, so we are comparing PF and PI. Okay, so we are just looking at the difference between PF and PI, and we are comparing it with the amount of the tax. So can we say anything about this relation? Okay, so which one is bigger? Okay, is the difference bigger than the amount of the tax, or the tax is bigger than the amount of the difference? Okay, so let's look at this graph. Okay, so my drawing is not very good. Okay, here, let me magnify it.
But still it looks like PF is bigger than TF, I think.
Let's try to see it. Okay, so here, okay, what is the difference between the prices here? Okay, so if I go in this direction, okay, so this part is the difference between the prices. Okay, so TF minus TI. Okay, so you can just see it from here. Okay, so this is the difference. Okay, TF minus TI. But what is the difference? So what is TF? Sorry, tau F here. Tau F here is this distance. Okay, so which means that tau F is always greater or equal to PF minus PI. Okay, so there is a very tiny difference on my drawing. Okay, so if we have drawn it in a better way, okay, we may observe a larger change. Okay, here. So this yellow area is the amount that the tax is greater than the price difference. Okay. So let me stop here for a second. So I will ask you in Turkish. Okay. Burası açık mı? Neden uygulanan tax elde ettiğimiz fiyat farkından daha yüksek?
Evet hocam.
Hocam görüntüsel olarak anladık ama sebep olarak bir daha açıklayabilir misiniz acaba?
Şimdi sebep olarak hani burada şey oluyor. Hani bu so this tax, okay, is charged directly on the seller. Okay. So this price difference is in fact the burden on the consumer. Okay. What the seller is doing is basically, so he is increasing the price, okay, and giving some burden of this tax to the consumers. Okay, so in reality, so it's the seller cannot overcharge the consumer. Okay, basically, so the government is taxing $2 per unit, okay, and the seller is saying that, okay, I don't want to pay all those $2, okay, I will increase the price, okay, I will increase the price by $1, okay, and at the end, $1 will be paid by the consumer for each good, and $1 will be paid by me. Okay, so there is a sharing between the consumer and the seller. Okay, so in fact, this portion, okay, so PF minus PI is the part of the tax indirectly paid by consumers. Okay, so the price difference, okay, the price difference, which is
Okay,
PF.
hocam, can't seller put all the burden on the consumers? He says, I don't want to pay $2 and I'm going to increase the amount of the price for $2.
Could you repeat it again? So I couldn't understand.
Can't seller put all the burden on the
Of course,
consumers?
the seller can put all the burden, but it will be depending on the demand curve. Okay, so how elastic or inelastic is the demand curve? Okay, so remember that. Okay, so the buyers are giving response to this increase in the price. Okay, by changing the amount of quantity that they are buying. Okay. In the next lecture, okay, so we will see this. We will look at the utility optimization. Okay, how the buyers are deciding on how much to buy. Okay.
So
But
then P final minus P initial can also be higher than the tax final, değil mi?
cannot be. Okay.
Cannot be.
So it is always less than or equal to the amount of the tax. Okay. So then it means that, okay, so if it is higher, okay, then there is something, the initial equilibrium is not the optimal equilibrium. Okay. So
Okay.
in the initial equilibrium, we may observe a higher price. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So this is always less than or equal to. Okay. So this part is the burden of tax on consumers. Okay. So if we are looking for the fraction of the burden, okay, then delta P over tau F is the fraction of burden on consumers, okay, and 1 minus delta P over tau F is the fraction of burden on sellers. Okay, and if you do the math here, so you will have minus delta P over tau. Okay. So let's try to understand, okay, so how these are related, okay, with the, so we will see that delta P over delta P over TF, okay, is related with supply and demand elasticities. Okay, in fact, okay, delta P, okay, so we will drive this, okay, delta P is equal to the supply elasticity divided by the supply elasticity minus demand elasticity times delta T, okay, so this is TF minus TI, okay, since we take TI as 0, then here delta, sorry, I'm mixing it, delta tau is equal to tau, okay, so we will derive this formula, okay, in a few minutes, okay, so which means that, okay, if eta increases, okay, we will see a higher burden on consumers. If epsilon, okay, decreases, okay, so which means that it goes to negative infinity, okay, so if it becomes more and more negative, okay, then what will happen is burden on consumers will decrease, okay, we will see it in a second, okay, and we will go over this one more time, okay, so let's try to derive, okay, we will derive this equation. So we consider linear demand and linear supply functions. So let's say the demand function is Q demand is equal to A minus BP, and supply is Q supply is equal to E plus FP. Okay, so these are both linear. Okay, so they are only depending on the price of the good, and we are working on this linear demand. Okay, suppose that the initial tax is 0. Okay, so which means that there is no tax here. Then I am looking for the equilibrium price. Okay, how do I find the equilibrium price here? I'm equalizing Q demand to Q supply, so which means that A minus BP is equal to E plus FP. Okay, I am interested in the value of P. Okay, so which means that I will take all P terms to the left hand side and all the other terms to the right hand side. Then I have, so let's do the just opposite. Okay, A minus E is equal to FP plus BP. Okay, if I take the right hand side in terms of P parentheses, okay, it is BF A minus E, then the equilibrium price without tax, okay, is equal to A minus E divided by D plus F. Okay, so this is the, so let's say this is PI, this is the equilibrium price without tax. Burada hiçbir şey fancy değil. Okay, nothing is fancy here. Okay, so I just equalize the demand function to the supply function, and I just pull out the price here. Okay, so I represent the price in terms of the parameters here. Okay, so here all A, B, E, and F are parameters. Okay, they are constants. Okay, then let's say that, okay, so we have a tax amount here. Okay, so let's say that the tax that is charged is equal to tau. Okay, and we are also interested in the equilibrium. Okay, so remember the figure that we have drawn here. Okay, so when we have this tax, okay, do we have any shift on the demand curve? Is there a shift on the demand curve?
Yes, sir.
Come on, come on. The equilibrium changes. Okay, so I'm not asking that. Okay, do we see any change on the demand curve? Okay, no. Okay, perfect. Burada let me explain in Turkish. Okay. Biz burada hani hep direct efekti var mı diye soruyorum ya. Yani direct efekti yok bu text consumer üstünde. Bu direct efekt consumer üzerinde olmadığından dolayı demand function'ı ya da demand curve'ü değişmiyor consumer'lar. Ha, işin sonunda ödeyecekleri fiyat değişiyor ama o equilibrium değiştiğinden dolayı. Tamam mı? There is no change. There is no change on the demand curve. Okay? Since there is no direct effect of this tax on the consumers, we don't observe any change on the demand curve. Okay? So which means that we will be working with the same demand function. Okay? Since there is no direct effect of tax on demand. Okay, we take the same demand curve, okay, which is Q demand is equal to A minus B. Okay, what about the supply? Okay, for supply. Okay, so remember, okay, for each unit sold by X dollars, okay, he pays tau dollars to government. Okay, which means that, okay, supplier, in fact, so whenever the supplier is receiving P dollars, okay, the government is paying, sorry, the buyer is paying P dollars, but the actual amount the supplier is receiving is P minus tau dollars, okay? This is what received by sellers, okay? And this is the reason why we observe a shift on the supply, okay? Then I will take this as the supply curve, okay, of the sellers, okay. Then I will do the same thing, okay. I will look at the equilibrium, okay. I will equalize the demand to the supply. Now I will be using this new supply curve, supply function, okay. So if I do the math here, I will have A minus E is equal to df dt plus fp minus f tau. Okay. Then if I take this term to the left hand side, AE, okay, plus f tau is equal to P times df. Okay. And AE, okay, I'm dividing both sides by df, d plus f is plus f d plus f times tau is equal to P. Okay, so in fact this is the P final. Okay, so which means that, so if you remember, so if you remember our initial price, okay, so which is A minus E, our initial price is A minus E over B plus F. Okay, so I can represent this equation, okay, I'm just plugging this value here, so this term is in fact the initial price, okay. And if I do the math here, Pf minus Pi is equal to F over Bf times tau. Okay, and this is delta P is equal to FB plus F times price. Okay. So now I can find, okay, without, so if I know this formula, okay, without knowing the initial equilibrium, without knowing the final equilibrium, okay, I can just put the value of the tax here. I can just put the value of these terms F, B, and F here, and I can just solve for the change in the price. Okay, this will be trivial. Okay, but what we were interested in is we would like to derive the following formula. Okay, so the one that we represent this change in the price by using the elasticities. Okay, so this is the supply elasticity, and this is demand elasticity. Okay, so how I can turn this one to this one? Okay, how I can turn? Okay. Benziyor mu bu formüller birbirlerine? So can you see that? So there is a similarity between those two formulas. Orada mısınız?
Evet hocam.
Tamam.
Yes, sir. Are they equal to each other?
So they will be equal to each other basically. So if you can see here, so the left hand side are the same. Okay. So basically there is a relation between the right hand side of these two formulas. Okay. So basically, so you can see that the relation between, so there is a relation between F and supply elasticity, and there is a relation between B and demand elasticity. Okay, there is a relation. Okay, we don't know it yet, but there will be a relation there. Okay, so let's work on the supply elasticity. Okay, what was the supply elasticity? It is dQs over d price times price over quantity. Okay, our supply function is given as E plus F T. Then what is the supply elasticity here? So what is this derivative? That derivative is, it is F. Okay, so I can write eta as F times T over Q. Okay, so remember, okay, this is what I have right now. Okay, I would like to transform this one to this one. Okay, so what I will do is I will leave F alone. Okay, which means that I will write it in terms of eta times Q over Q. Okay, I find the representation of F in terms of eta. Now I will do the same thing for the demand elasticity. Okay, so this is d cubed d over dt times T over Q. Okay, so our demand equation is A minus dt. Okay, then this derivative will be minus B times T over Q. I do the same thing here. Okay, I'm writing D in terms of epsilon. Okay, it is minus epsilon times Q over Q. Okay, now I will plug this F and D to this formula. Okay, so to here. So let's do that. Okay, So we have found delta P is equal to F over B plus F times tau. Okay. Instead of F, I will write this eta times Q over P. Instead of B, I will write minus epsilon times Q over P plus, instead of F, I will write eta times Q over P times tau. Okay? Can you see that I can all cancel out these Q over P terms here, and I am just left with this. Okay, this is equal to that. Okay, so this computes our derivation. Okay, so you can go over this derivation, okay, one more time, so by yourself. Okay, but what we have done is basically, so by using by finding the change in the price by using two equilibriums, okay, and by using the supply and demand elastic formulas, so we show that, okay, we can represent the change in the price by using the supply and demand elasticity. Okay, so let's talk about the relation between the burden on the consumers and the elasticity. So this is burden on consumers. In Turkish, burada ben tau kadarlık bir tax uyguluyorum. Bu da delta P kadarlık bir fiyat değişimine sebep oluyor. Bu delta P her zaman tau'dan küçük oluyor. Şimdi bu consumer'lar efekti ne olmuş olur bu tax'in? Fiyattaki artış olmuş oluyor. Şimdi bu fiyattaki artışın tax'e oranına ben consumer'lar üzerindeki burden olarak tanımlıyorum. Ve bu burden'u da elasticite'ler üzerinden represent edebiliyorum. Okay? So the effect of this change in the tax, okay, the increase in the tax on the consumer is the increase in the price. I have defined this fraction, okay, the ratio of the change in the price to the tax as the burden on the consumer. And by using this linear demand and linear supply, I have represented this relation by just using the supply elasticity, okay, and by just using the demand elasticity. Okay. Now I will briefly talk about, okay, so what happens, okay, so if the demand becomes more elastic, okay, what happens if the supply becomes more elastic, okay? So what is the demand elasticity here? With which letter do I represent the demand elasticity? Okay, with the epsilon, of course. And eta, okay, this fancy N is the supply elasticity. So let's remember, okay, if I say demand becomes more elastic, okay, what do I mean? What happens to E? Okay, does it increase or does it decrease? Burada epsilon ne olmuş oluyor eğer demand more elastik dersen? Azalıyor mu, artıyor mu epsilon? Okay, So it increases in absolute term. Okay, so basically what happens here is, for example, epsilon was initially, let's say it is minus 2.5. Okay, so remember, so the demand elasticity is always non-positive. Okay, it's always less than 0. If I say that the demand becomes more elastic, then it becomes from minus 2.5 to minus 5. Okay, so it goes to, it becomes closer to the minus infinity. Okay, so in absolute value, it increases, but just if you just look at the magnitude, okay, it becomes more negative. Okay, so which means that it is decreasing. Okay, so if this term, okay, so if epsilon decreases, what happens to minus epsilon? Come on. Buradan düşünelim. Eksi 2,5'tan eksi 5 oldu. Eksi epsilon neydi o zaman? 2,5'tan 5 oldu. Arttı mı, azaldı mı?
Azaldı.
Bir daha düşünelim. Eksi epsilonu şey yapıyorum. Hani
Artmadı mı hocam?
arttı. Tamam mı? Artı burada hani birazcık, so this minus sign, so it's making the things more complicated. I know that you all can see this, but so minus epsilon is increased. Okay, so do not, whenever you have this kind of questions, okay, just think with the numbers. Okay, just put numbers here. Okay, so initially epsilon was minus 2.5. Now it becomes minus 5. Okay, minus epsilon was 2.5, then it becomes 5. Okay, so which means that it has increased. Okay, then let's think about this denominator. What happens to once the demand becomes more elastic, which means that epsilon is decreasing, minus epsilon is increasing, what happens to the denominator here? Minus epsilon plus eta, it is artar mı, azalır mı? Does it increase or artar? Değil mi? Hani burada herhangi bir triangle.
Artmıyor mu? Eksi 5 olmuyor mu? Sonuç olarak.
Okay. Again. So epsilon is minus 2.5. Okay, so let's start with a concrete example. Okay, so epsilon is minus 2.5 and eta is 2. Okay, I just came up with this number. Suppose that, okay, the demand becomes more elastic. Okay, so which means that now I need to consider a new epsilon. Okay, since it becomes more elastic, so it approaches to the minus infinity. Okay, then it becomes minus infinity. What I am doing is I am considering this term. Okay, so let's say that I am considering this term. So what was it initially? What is the value with these numbers?
Okay, so I understand.
Okay, what is it?
Became 7.
Okay, so the new value is 7, but initially it was 4.5, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with the new epsilon, okay, as the demand becomes more elastic, it is now 7. Okay, so the denominator has increased. Then what happens to the all this fraction? Okay, eta over minus eta plus minus epsilon plus eta. It is, so initially it was 2 over 4.5. Now it is eta over minus eta over minus epsilon times plus eta. It is now 2 over 7. So which fraction is greater? Hadi bunlar çok basit sorular.
First one was greater, sir.
The first one is great. Okay, so because now I am dividing the same numerator with a larger denominator. Okay, so which means that the burden, as the demand becomes more elastic, burden on consumers increases. Sorry, that's totally wrong. Okay,
Please.
it is decreasing.
Okay.
Okay, or in other words, okay, so if the demand becomes more inelastic, which means that epsilon is approaching to 0, then the burden on the consumers will
Increase.
increase. Okay, so you can just think about it. Okay, so the seller is thinking that, okay, so if the demand of the buyer is more elastic, it means that it will respond more to the price change. Okay, so the quantity stock will decrease more. Okay, in that case, the seller can just increase the price less. Okay, because at the end, so it may have a loss of the revenue or something like that. Okay. And what about eta? So suppose that the eta new is 3, okay, and we are fixing it with this value, okay. So what happens here? Here the supply becomes more elastic or less elastic. Hadi bakalım ağzımızdan kerpeten alıyoruz lafları. It becomes more elastic. Okay. What I will do is I will just calculate this fraction, okay, by just using this value. Okay, nothing complicated. Okay. So if you calculated the initial burden is, so we have already calculated it, it is 2 over 4.5. Okay, then the final one is, so with the new supply elasticity, it is 3 over minus 2 over 5 minus plus 3, which is 3 over 5.5. Okay, so if you do the math here, okay, you will see that this one, okay, 3 over 5.5 is larger than 2 over 5.5. Okay, so which means that if the supply becomes more elastic, okay, the burden on consumers increase. Okay, so let me wrap up and I will give a short break. Okay, so the burden over the consumer is basically represented by delta P over tau times is equal to eta over minus epsilon plus eta. As demand becomes more elastic, burden on consumer decreases, But as supply becomes more elastic, burden on consumers increases. And all this comes from this form. Okay?
Are we going to solve examples of
Yes,
this?
I got after the break, so I will solve an example.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So let's give a very short break. Okay, so let's say just 7 minutes. Okay, so just take a break. Okay, so we will meet in what time is it in Turkey right now? 6:45. Is that correct? 6:45 geçe buluşuyoruz.
Okay, sir, see you.
Bye bye. So in the second part, so what I will do is basically I will first work on an example, okay, to make what we have done in the first class more clear, okay? So if you have any question, again, do not hesitate to answer, okay? So we have here two questions, okay? So let's first read those questions together, okay? So in the first question, so it will be based on the text burden, okay? So the topic that we have just covered. Suppose there's a text on beans, okay, so which is okay, so the text on bean is 0.1, okay, and it is on the firms, okay, as we just learned, okay. As a result of this text, the equilibrium price has increased from 0.3 to 0.35, okay, so which means that the initial equilibrium price was equal to 0.3 and the final equilibrium price is equal to 0.35. So which means that delta P is equal to 0.35 over 0.3, which is 0.05. Okay. So the question is basically asking what fraction of this tax burden falls on consumers. Okay. So the tax burden, or the fraction of tax burden on consumers, so we have represented is as delta P over the tax amount, right? And what is this fraction? It is 0.05 over 0.1, which is, what is that? It is 0.5. Okay, so the tax burden on the consumers is just half of the tax. Okay, then the tax burden on sellers is what is left. Okay, so what's left behind this tax? Okay, so it will be 1 minus delta P over tau, which will be 1 minus 0.5. It is 0.5. Okay, so basically they are sharing this burden of tax. Okay, specific to this question. Then in the second part of the question, it says that suppose the supply elasticity is 0.5. Okay, so what is the supply elasticity? It is eta is 0.5. Then it asks what must be the demand elasticity. Okay, so it is asking the epsilon. So remember, okay, delta P over tau is equal to eta minus epsilon plus eta. Okay? So we have found delta P over delta P over tau is 0.5. Eta is given as 0.5. We don't know what is epsilon, and eta is given as 0.5. Okay, so I will just do the math here. So this will cancel each other, which means that minus epsilon plus 0.5 is equal to 1. Here, epsilon will be equal to minus 0.5. Okay, so the corresponding demand elasticity will be minus 0.5. So which means that here demand is inelastic. Sorunuz var mı ilk kısmıyla ilgili? Do you have any question for the first part? Perfect, okay. So no question for the first part. So for the second part, okay. So in the second part, part B, it asks if the demand function for the orange juice is expressed as Q is equal to 2000 minus 500 T, okay. Here quantity is given and price is given. And it asks for what values of the price the demand for the orange juice has a unitary elasticity. Okay, so remember the unitary elasticity is the case where epsilon is minus 1. Okay, so let me give you 3 minutes, okay, and let's you work on this example, okay, then we will solve it together. Okay, so let me give you 3 minutes. Okay, so any answer? 2. Okay, $2. Okay, so let's try to solve it. Okay, so you will have similar questions in the midterms. Okay, so as you will see that, okay, this question is not that hard question. Okay, so once you have understand the concept, so everything will be clear. Okay, so here, so let me try to solve it here. So we would like to have epsilon is equal to -1. Okay, so what was epsilon? Okay, epsilon is dq over dp times t over q. Okay, so what is dp over dq here? I'm just taking the derivative of this demand function with respect to price. It will be 500, okay, times p over q. And I want this to be -1. But here, I have two different variables, okay, so P and Q. So I don't know the exact price, okay, so if this was just a function of P, okay, I could have found the value of P, okay. So I need to change this Q and I need to represent this Q in terms of the price. Can I do that? Burada Q'yu P cinsinden yazabilir miyim?
Yes.
So by using what I can write Q in terms of P? Is there something that will help me here in the question?
Demand function is given.
Exactly, the demand function is given. Okay, so I know exactly the relation between P and Q. I will just plug in this demand function here. So if I do the math here, okay, so I will take this term to the left-hand side. Okay, so 500 P minus 2000 is equal to 500 P. Then 1000, I made a
Derivatifi eksi 500 olması gerekiyor.
evet, çok doğru söylediniz. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so the derivative is minus 500. Okay, so there's a 500 sign here. Thank you very much. So this is minus 500. Okay, if I take this minus 500 to the right hand side, okay, and if I take this minus 2000 to the right, I take the minus 500 to the left hand side and 2000 to the right hand side, and I will get price is equal to 2. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so this is just using the formula for the demand elasticity. Okay, nothing more than that. Okay, any questions? No questions. Okay, so we have finished chapter 3. Okay, so which means that we have finished everything related with the demand and supply. Okay, now we will start with a very brief introduction to chapter 4, okay, which will be basically the consumer utilities. And this is where we obtain the demand function. Okay, so you can just think about where does this demand function comes from. Okay, it comes from your utility maximization. And we will spend more time on this on next week. Okay, and in next week, and so that will be the main part of your midterm one. Okay, so if you don't have any question, okay, I will start the new chapter. Again, I will just have a brief introduction. Okay, so I will talk around 15 minutes or something like that, and I will stop there. Okay, any question? Sorunuz var mı?
Yok hocam.
Perfect.
Affedersiniz, kusura bakmayın.
Okay.
Bunlarla ilgili birkaç daha örnek görme şansımız ya da çizme şansımız olacak mı? Yükleyebilir misiniz?
I will give you assignments. Okay, so basically, and you will have the recitations. Okay, and you will have enough questions before the midterm.
Okay, thank you.
So, chapter 4. Consumer choice. Okay. Suppose that, okay, we have apples, or let's use always the same example. Okay, we have coffee and we have tea. Okay, and I offer you, okay, so every day, okay, I say that you can get either 2 coffee and 1 tea, or 1 tea or 2 coffee. Okay, so this is the cup of coffee, this is cup of tea, cup of coffee, cup of tea. Okay, so let's say that this first bundle is represented by X and the second bundle is represented by Y. Okay, and let me try to draw it on a graph here. So let's say this part is coffee, this part is tea, this is bundle X, and this is bundle Y. Okay, which one would you prefer? Bundle X, option X, or option Y?
It depends on our taste.
Of course, but I'm asking the question to you, okay, so you can just say that based on your taste, okay, so if you are a coffee person, do you prefer bundle X, or if you are a tea person, okay, so do you prefer bundle Y? Okay.
Bundle X hocam.
X.
Bundle X, bundle Y, okay, so again, as you mentioned, okay, the answer depends on your taste, okay, or what we can say, your preferences, okay. For example, so what may happen, but if I ask you the same question as follows, now I am offering you, let's say there is another bundle here, okay, bundle C, so which has 2 coffee and 2 teas, okay. Would you prefer Z to X?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay, so the more is better, okay.
Definitely.
The more is better. Okay, so by the way, you don't have to say certain, okay, so as far as I know, I don't have any relation with English real family, so you don't have to say so. Okay? So the more is always better. Okay, and in fact, okay, so we will be related with the preferences in this chapter. Okay, as an economic agent, we will be always able to compare different bundles of goods. Okay, so we may prefer bundle 1 over bundle 2. Okay, so whatever the bundles, okay, so I don't care it right now. Or we may prefer bundle 2 over bundle 1, or we may be just indifferent. Okay, so it is allowed. Okay, so birinci bundle 2'ye tercih edebiliriz, ikinciyi 1'e tercih edebiliriz ya da ikisi arasında indifferent kalabilir. Okay, it's all allowed. Okay, but what I'm just want from the agent, okay, so whoever is we are considering right now, to rank those bundles. Okay, for example, so if I give the options based on the pizza and pita, okay, so I just want you to rank all those options on this graph. Okay, So that is what we will do here. And this ranking of bundles comes from preferences or taste, if you wish. Okay? And we represent the preference relation over the bundles by using this fancy greater sign. Okay, so basically, let me try to draw it in much better. Okay, so something like this. Okay, for example, if we are given two bundles, A and B. Okay, so let me specify about what do I mean by the bundle. Okay, so this bundle has some different amount of different goods. So does bundle B. Okay, so if you prefer, okay, A to B, okay, if you strictly prefer A to B, then we write A is preferred to B. Okay, if you strictly prefer B to A, then we write B is strictly preferred to A. Okay, then if you are indifferent between A and B, then we write A is indifferent with B. Okay, so these are the preference relation or the representation of your preference. Okay, so nothing that confusing here. Okay, so it's all just a representation. Burada sadece bir simge olarak bu büyüktür işaretine benzeyen bir işareti sizin preference'ınızı represent etmek için kullanıyoruz. Okay? So we use this sign, okay, just to represent your preference. Good. So we have three assumptions on preferences. Okay, so this is basically, so in our model, okay, so we are now representing a consumer choice model, and we have three assumptions. Okay, the first one is completeness, and it basically tells us that when facing a choice between any two bundles of goods, a consumer can rank them. Okay, so either one of them is preferred or indifferent. So let me explain in Turkish. Okay. Size ben bir yığın opsiyon verdim. Tamam mı? Bu opsiyonlardan herhangi iki tanesini karşılaştırın dedim. İşte dedim ki 3 fincan çay ile 5 fincan kahve. Bu birinci opsiyonunuz. Diğer opsiyonunuz da 2 fincan ne dedim? Bir daha basit bir şey söyleyeyim. 2 fincan çay ile 1 fincan kahve ile 1 fincan çay ile 2 fincan kahveyi karşılaştırın dedim. Sizin bana oradaki cevabınız ben bunu karşılaştırabilirim olması lazım. Karşılaştırdığınızda diyeceksiniz ki opsiyon 1'i mi tercih ediyorum? Opsiyon 2'yi mi tercih ediyorum? Yoksa her iki opsiyon da benim için eşdeğer mi? Hani bu üçünden birisini bütün bundle'lar için söyleyebilmeniz lazım. Bu da completeness'ı veriyor. Okay? So whenever I give you two bundles, okay, so composed of different amounts of goods, okay, the answer that you need to give is basically you need to be able to rank them. Okay, either one of the bundle is better than the other one, or you are just indifferent. Okay, so what competence is ruling out is the fact that you never say that I cannot compare. You are always be able to compare. Okay, this is the first assumption. The second assumption is transitivity. Okay, so if a consumer prefers bundle X to Y, and Y to Z, okay, then what should be the ranking between X and Z? Which one is more preferred? If I prefer X to Y and Y to Z,
X is the most preferred one.
X is the most preferred one, which means that X is preferred to
Z.
Z. Okay, so basically the transitivity is requiring us a consistent preferences. Okay, for example, if you're I don't know if you would like to go holiday in Fethiye rather than Antalya, okay, and if you would like to go to Antalya rather than, I don't know, Izmir, okay, then when I ask you to compare between Fethiye and Izmir, okay, you should always say that I would rather go to Fethiye. Okay, there should be some kind of a consistency within the preference. Okay, and the third one is, and the last one is, more is better. Okay, so remember that. Okay, so when I give you a bundle X, okay, in fact, so I'm giving you some amount of the goods that you are consuming. Okay, for example, it can be 2 coffee and 1 tea. Okay, and if I give you another bundle, okay, so which is composed of more coffee and more tea, okay, you should always say that, okay, Y is preferred to X. Okay, the more amount you consume, the happier you are. Okay, so let me finish with one question. Okay, so do you think that more is better always hold in real life? Okay, so do you prefer more of everything?
No, no hocam.
No. So for example, what would you prefer to have less? For example, do you prefer less traffic in Istanbul or more traffic in Istanbul?
Less traffic, sir.
Of course, less traffic. Okay. So basically, so we will later on. So I think we will not be covering that chapter. But if the good is bad, okay, like traffic or pollution, something like that. Okay, more is better does not hold. Okay, but for the goods that we are considering here, the commodity goods or the goods that we will be interested in, so this more is better relation will always. Okay, so let's stop for today, okay, for this week, and we will continue with chapter 4 next week. Okay, so on Monday, so we will have the class in the regular time. Okay, I think Wednesday is national holiday. I will double check whether there will be online class on Wednesday or not. Okay, so because it is 15th of July. And so we will definitely have class on Monday and Friday. Okay. So I may ask your TAs to have 1 hour of recitation or solving questions. So during the week, okay. So I will decide it during this weekend. Okay, and I will update you. But in any time, so in any case, so we will have our regular class on Monday. Okay. So do you have any problem with uploading your homework one?
Hocam onunla ilgili bir soru sorabilir miyim acaba?
Tabii ki.
Bir A4 kağıdına çözüp fotoğraf olarak size mail atmamız yeterli mi?
So I would prefer you to upload it to my Zoom. Okay.
Tamam, ya da fotoğraf olarak MySu'ya mı upload etmemiz
Of course.
lazım?
So the format is not important for me. Okay. So you can just solve the question. Okay. But since these questions will be graded by your TAs. Okay. So the better writing you have, okay, the better resolution. Okay. It is easier for them to grade your homework. Okay, and they will be grading 60 students' homework. So let's try to make their job easier. Okay. Burada çözünürlüğü iyi olsun. Hani bir scanner'a gerek yok. Tamam, hani bir yerden scanner bulmanıza gerek yok. So you can just take the photo, okay, take the picture of it, okay. But let's see that, okay, can you read it, okay. So if you can read it, then upload it to the MySu. So if you have problems with uploading it to MySu, okay, just email to me. Okay.
Tamam,
And there are different softwares, okay, so that I know of, okay, so which can turn these pictures into the PDF, okay, by just using your mobile phone, okay, your smartphone. So one of them is Adobe Scan. These are all free, and the other is Cam Recorder or something like that. So one of your friends suggested on Cam Scanner. Okay, you can either use Cam Scanner or you can use Adobe Scanner. Okay, they are all working for this option. Okay, and it will turn the pictures, the photos into PDF. Okay, and one file PDF will be perfect. Question?
No.
Perfect. Then it is all for today. So I will upload your second homework on Monday. Okay. Then have a nice weekend. Okay, and I will see you on Monday.
Hocam pardon, ben bir şey sorabilir miyim?
Tabii ki.
Hocam ben tam anlamadım da şimdi PDF olarak mı yükleyelim yoksa yani fotoğrafını çekip direkt atalım mı? Yükleyelim mi Scores'a?
Fotoğraf yükleseniz olur.
Ha, anladım, tamam, o zaman fark etmiyor.
Ama hani kural yok burada, ama hani benim sizden ricam, şimdi tek tek fotoğrafları indirmeleri öğrencilerin, TA'lerinizin zor oluyor. Bunun yerine PDF'e çevirmeye çalışın. Hani PDF'e çevirmek için de bu Adobe Scan diye bir program var ya da Cam
Scanner var. Evet hocam, evet.
Onları kullanabilirsiniz. Öyle kullanırsanız TA'nizin işi daha rahat olur. Onlar
o zaman
daha güzel okur. Tamam.
Ben tamamdır. PDF olarak yükleyeyim. Teşekkürler hocam, tamamdır.
İyi günler.
İyi günler. İyi günler hocam.
Hocam PDF ile ilgili bir şey soracağım da o programlar ya tek sayfa değil benim cevaplarım. 2 sayfada onlar birden fazla dosyayı eğer premium olmadığı sürece bildiğim kadarıyla çevirmiyor PDF'e aynı anda.
Adobe Scan çeviriyor.
Çeviriyor mu bak? Tamam.
Ben kullanıyorum. Hani bir Adobe Scan'i indir telefonuna. Dene. Hani olmuyorsa gidip de şeyini alma yani. Hani ücretli versiyonunu alma. O şekilde yapmaya çalış. Tamam mı? Hani birazcık uğraş. Eğer sorunu çözemezsen elinde ne varsa o şekilde gör.
Ben yükledim zaten de PDF olarak yükledim.
Tamam.
Dediğim gibi farklı dosyalar olarak yükledim. Dediğim gibi denediğim zaman internetten zaten hani çoğu zaman bir tane program kullanıyorum önceden. Onun şu anda süresi doldu. İnternetten baktıklarımda da hani birden fazla dosya attığım zaman yapıyor. Premium istiyor benden. O yüzden.
O zaman tamam. O zaman sorun yok. Hani o şekilde yüklediysen sorun yok.
Hocam 13'üne değil mi, pazartesiye?
Evet. Dersten önce.
Aynen hocam. Tamam, teşekkür ederim.
Görüşmek üzere.
Hocam bir soru
İyi günler hocam.
Soru mu var
Hocam.
başka?
While solving the questions, must we use graphs? Is it mandatory for us or?
Okay, so I don't remember the exact questions, but if it is asking to use the graphs, okay, so yes, you should use the graphs. But if you can solve it without using the graphs, and if it is not explicitly asking the graph, so you don't have to use it. Okay? But for this chapter, okay, for chapter 2, okay, so working on the graph is always the better way.
As I understand, if they are not asking me to show in graph by graphs, it's not mandatory, yeah?
Exactly, it's not mandatory. If it is not explicitly asked, it is not mandatory.
Teşekkür ederim. Sağ olun.
İyi günler.